Welcome back. Our breaking news coverage of Hurricane Milton continues. As you take a look here, this was in Lee County last night. Roadways clear at this point, but as we've seen this morning, there has been flooding in various parts of the Sunshine States.
Yeah, that's right. This morning, in fact, first responders assessing the damage left behind by Hurricane Milton, hitting Florida as a Cat 3, weakening to a Cat 1, now again moving offshore. That's good news. That's welcome news. The National Weather Service has another update on Milton coming up in about 33 minutes from now, which we will be able to get to you here on the show. Let's bring in Erica Donalds, the guest faculty at the Leadership Institute School Board Programs, and has also founded 5 charter schools across the state of Florida. She is also the wife of Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, whom we spoke with yesterday right here on National Report. Ms. Donalds, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. First, can I ask how you're doing, how your family's doing? Did you have to evacuate? Do you know anything about your home?
Thank you. We're actually home now. We live about 10 miles from shore in Naples, and so we actually didn't even lose power, so we're very blessed, very fortunate. My mom lives in Punta Gorda. She was just hit very hard by Helene with about 3 feet of water. We're hearing that her home probably sustained about 4 to 5 feet of water, but we haven't been able to get up there yet. But most importantly, we're all safe and sound, and that's really what matters, and we're very thankful to God for protecting us.
Yeah, amen. That's crucial, right? Everyone's lives are what's most important at this point. Preparations for the storm were pretty intense, right? I mean, with folks tracking weather in Florida, the warnings from Governor Ron DeSantis, we know some schools had closed down. Can you tell us what you experienced and what this could mean for kids who are just trying to get back to normal back in the classroom?
Sure. Yes. The conversations are very different today than they were yesterday. A lot of people thankful that the worst case scenario did not occur. However, when it comes to the impact on schools, most schools across the west coast of Florida have been closed all week long after being closed previously for Helene. People don't understand what a disruption this is, not just for students. Parents, of course, are seeing that in their students having to be home. They're bored, especially if you lose power. It's very difficult for parents to prepare for a storm and then come after the storm when that happens. But schools that are closed, they are used as shelters. Here in Collier County, every middle and high school is converted to a shelter, and people don't realize that's not the emergency management that's managing those shelters. The principals, the administrators, the teachers are volunteering to work those shelters. So taking time away from their own families and their own storm preparation and recovery to serve their communities, and then they're exhausted to try to get those schools ready for students to come back.
Yeah, what's next for you? I know you have a big hand there in Collier County specifically with again getting shelter to those that do need it. Can you talk about what you're doing as well?
Yes, well, the school district will assess how many people they're going to have left in those shelters and whether they need to keep any of them open. And then it's the difficult decision as to which schools are going to get open and not, which students are going to get served in person, which ones have to remain online. That's really difficult for the school district to make those decisions. As for me and my family, we're going to do what we always do after a storm, look for ways to help the community. Our church starts to gather these teams to go out and start cleaning up for people. And that's something that people can take their children with them to do this. Yes, it's dangerous. You have to dress appropriately. You have to prepare them. But there's a lot of trash to be moved in and out of homes, out of streets, and children can absolutely help with those things. And it's something that you can use an extra set of hands for. So if you're looking for something to do with your children, if you're just out of power but don't have damage to your home, I would encourage you to reach out to your local church, your local community organizations, and find ways to help others who are in dire situations trying to get back in their homes.
Yeah, that's obviously the best thing is people who are willing and able to assist others. It's when we see the best of humanity, right, in some of these instances, despite the tragedy that we're seeing. And we're taking a look here in Bradenton Beach, Florida, an area that had been more directly impacted by Milton. Look, Erica, when you're watching the national coverage of the storm, the White House, President Biden and the Vice President, they like to discuss often the concept of misinformation, disinformation circulating online. I'm wondering, since you're looking at it more from a local lens, is there a resource that you would recommend that you find incredibly helpful during these times when, people might be on social media or online and there are some confusing dialogues?
This is the first hurricane that I've heard the words misinformation or disinformation. I've lived in Florida my entire life. We've lived in Southwest Florida for 20 years and sustained many storms, both when I was an elected official as a school board member. Of course, my husband's been serving at the state and congressional level. People in Florida know who to listen to, and it's not presidential national candidates. Governor Ron DeSantis is an incredible leader when it comes to the storms. People should be listening to his press conferences. He's up there talking to the community, talking to the state, their local law enforcement, their local emergency operations centers, their school districts. There's plenty of good information that gets out to the people. Again, we don't need politicians or people playing politics coming into Florida when we have an emergency situation happening, a natural disaster. That is what is causing a distraction and causing problems for us and causing the quote misinformation. That's the confusion. If people can be just left to listen to their local community leaders and to our Governor Ron DeSantis, they will be just fine.
Yeah, and clearly you can see that from what we've seen, there's a major success. We even talked about that with the mayor of Miami, of those listening to the local authorities, state authorities, much like Ron DeSantis, to evacuate in those zones that were indeed mandatory evacuation. We appreciate the time. This is the wife of Congressman Byron Donalds, Erica Donalds. Good to see you. Glad to see you, your family are safe. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Our coverage of Hurricane Milton continues on the other side.